Art comes in many different shapes and sizes. There are people who like to draw portraits of people. There are people who like to draw buildings. There are people who like to draw landscapes. Hell, there are people who like to mix everything together and draw shit that doesn't exist and can never exist. Art is exceptionally cool in that way because artists are all so different and odd and interesting that they create art that is different, odd, and interesting. Every artist have a unique perspective that they want people to see more of. You know, unless they blatantly trace their art from other people off Instagram and pretend it's theirs when in reality they're just blatantly misrepresenting themselves, but that's a video for another day. Art is subjective and cool, and like I said before, it's all about perspective and influences. I draw women because I have always been obsessed with women, beauty, and fashion images. The first thing I used to draw when I was in kindergarten was these Jessica Rabbit knockoff characters with huge breasts, and that pretty much never stopped. The reason why one of my close friends only draws landscapes and only draws still lives is because she finds peace in them and finds them to be less messy than drawing people, namely because she can't read facial emotions well, and therefore she finds it easier to convey emotion in color palettes and still lives rather than to do that with faces and characters. And each artist, big and small, has a perspective and a reasoning for what they do, and almost all of it, almost all, is good and valid, except if you once again are tracing your entire catalog and profiting off other artists' work as if it's your own, which you shouldn't be doing, ever. Don't do that. Another exception to all art is good and valid is if you're an adult woman who is drawing children in lewd ways and making the cartoon version of CP for an avid fanbase of adults who also seem to enjoy that, aka predators. And then, when you get rightfully called out for what you are doing, saying that you need to draw children in incestuous and abusive relationships and children's bodies this way because it's helping you overcome your trauma, and that people are only mad at you because you're trans. Because, as that turns out, that is very, 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 very annoying and gross and bad, illegal, and messed up. And you shouldn't be doing that at all, ever. So let's talk about strawberry milk, shall we? Hey guys, it's Shannon, and today I'm going to be refusing to call the person I'm talking about by their actual username because I have a speech impediment that makes me sound like I'm 5, and their name purposely brings that out. So, for the sake of my sanity and for the sake of not reversing years and years of speech therapy that I was bullied for, I'm going to be calling them strawberry milk. But be aware, their name is actually like this on screen. They spell it like this, phonetically, as if a 6-year-old saying it in baby talk. I'm not kidding you. And yes, you can find them at that username at Twitter and Instagram, though I encourage you guys not to do that unless you are going to report their various images showing drawings of underage people in very sexually explicit positions because, well, that's something that they are doing that I think they shouldn't be doing. That also goes against Twitter's terms of service, as well as Instagram's terms of service, and most normal people's moral compass. Also, before I get started, I do want to say, do not go to this person's social media and send them hate. Do not send them anything and do not interact with this person at all. Just don't. I am going to get into why not to do that later. However, in doing that, you are actively hurting any chance of letting them know that what they are doing is actually wrong. You are allowing them to use the hate and the insults that you might be throwing at them as a scapegoat for their behavior. And frankly, sending hate towards someone online directly in that way is really iffy and it's really gross. And it lets the person who is blatantly breaking the law have a scapegoat to be a victim. And just straight up, you shouldn't do it, ever. So don't do it. With that out of the way, and with you having pinky promised that you won't go and harass this person, let's get back into talking about how this person who spells their name like this, because that's a thing that is happening in the year of our Lord 2020, and I hate it. So why do they spell strawberry milk with a bunch of W's and spell it as if they were a child? Well, great question. It's because this adult human person has an obsession with talking like a child and pretending to be a child and acting like a child and drawing children in gross, provocative ways that make me think, no, stop doing that. Stop doing that thing, because that's not okay. But starting simply at the name thing, starting at this adult woman deciding to write their name in a way they assume a baby would say it, and having merch that says stupid whittle puppy girl that is made in crayon and talk on Twitter about being a little girl all the hecking time, that's weird. It's McFrickin' weird. As a full-grown adult person who has lived on this planet for 26 years and has encountered every fetish from here to Timbuktu, I think it's fairly weird to do this on a professional art account that you are trying to make money off of, that you are trying to be a professional on. I think it's weird that you're using your professional account that you are trying to market and trying to use to get your work featured in professional magazines and zines alone to say that you are a child and you can't be held accountable for your actions because you're just so young when you're not a child and you're not that young. I think that's weird and gross. And you definitely shouldn't be doing that while trying to come across as an industry professional. But again, that's coming from me, the girl whose Instagram hashtag is Amber #1 butt slut, namely after the worst porn I had ever watched. So maybe that point is kind of mute. So the talking, acting, and presenting yourself as a child on Twitter when you really are an adult woman who posts nudes of yourself on Instagram and Twitter, that's one thing. That's one super uncomfortable thing that makes me super uncomfortable. A whole ass other, more uncomfortable, damn right illegal thing is if you use that Instagram and Twitter account to promote your art and comics, which exclusively deal with you drawing children sexually. And yes, there is a name for that. A name that I cannot say because it will put me in YouTube's prison and shadow ban my channel. But I think we all know what that name is. Before we go any further, before I talk about the art that this person is making, I do want to let you know what the actual laws regarding this kind of art are, because it turns out a lot of people don't actually know the laws. A lot of people think that these images are drawings and cartoons and therefore not real, and that suddenly makes them okay. That suddenly makes them good and lawful. However, no, that's not the case. It's never been the case. Actually, okay, that's a lie. It was the case briefly in 1996 when the CPPA Act passed and stated that virtual CP is not intrinsically related to the hurt of children and therefore the depictions of it aren't deemed unlawful. But that was quickly overturned and led into the creation of the PROTECT Act from 2003, where it states that any material that has visual depictions of any kind, including drawing, cartoon, sculpture, or painting, that depicts a minor engaging in sexually explicit conduct and is obscene, or depicts an image that is or appears to be a child engaging in that action, owning and distributing that work is a criminal activity. It's illegal, meaning that the explicit artwork that this person is creating is actually illegal. It's illegal. End of. They are making blatant depictions of minors who are noticeably minors, who everyone can see and tell they are minors based off their body, who state in comic that they are under the age of the consent, engaging in sexual actions, and incest, and fetish work. So, before I have any weird neckbeards or the remnants of Tumblr coming at me and telling me that their art is valid and therefore good, no, it's literally illegal. It's not valid. It's not good. I shouldn't be able to go to their Twitter timeline and count up to 35 examples of this and be able to report this person to Gumroad and Twitter for using their platform this way. And not to mention reporting them to the authorities for making this, because it's gross. When I was told about Strawberry Milk and their platform, I thought the person who was talking to me and was informing me about this and what they were doing was exaggerating. I thought that they might have specifically had a run-in with them and didn't like them and had a grudge against them, and there probably wouldn't be too much evidence against this person because that would be insane. I thought it would be insane, and that there was no actual way that there was an artist who was noticeably popular on Twitter with over 1,000 followers, who was drawing nudes of children, drawing comics of children engaging in sexual relationships with their siblings, and getting peed on, obviously for fun, and also saying things like, honestly, if a kid got a hold of Puppy Milk is their comic, and yes, milk stands for something else, but they said if a kid got a hold of Puppy Milk, it would probs help them identify abusive relationships in their own life, but whatever. But honestly, even if it was just straight up porn, it would still have a ton of merit. I do want to draw porn of these characters. Those characters are children in Puppy Milk, just so you know. Its effect on the world is meaningless to me. I just want to draw, which, I don't need to tell you, is gross. That's full McFrickin' gross. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's gross. If you don't think that's gross, I don't know what to tell you. The person who brought this to me, if anything, was making this person look better by excluding some things, because they didn't even touch on the fact that this person also pretends to be a child online and have said that you can't call them a pedophile for drawing this way because they're trans, and trans people can't be predators. Except yes, they can, obviously. Do we all remember Jessica Yaniv? But this person is literally out here doing this, and there are people supporting it. People who are saying it's great, it's wonderful. Strawberry Milk, or Aggie, has over 1,000 Twitter followers who will praise their work, like it and retweet it, and support it. They are supporting work like this, which is titled Piddle Princess, which I do have some of it blocked off, where it's a child peeing on themselves, and it's supposed to be a fetish. It's supposed to be fetish work, but it's a kid. Here's one of the many responses to that piece of art from someone called Goopus on Twitter, who, by the way, just so you know, Goopus, I know this video isn't about you, but you're supporting this in any capacity makes you gross, and your comments make this gross. But Goopus says, she's so cute. Girls peeing is so valid. What the fuck is wrong with you? When I first read this, I gagged. I felt uncomfortable, and I needed to hug my husband and have him tell me things that aren't this. Because fun fact, Looking into things like this, knowing that there are people who support this and think this is sexy, that alarms me. That is not something that I think is super fun and I'm excited about. And like, ooh, yay, I get to make content surrounding another internet predator. Like, no. This is something I find to be alarming and gross and fucked up. There are so many more images and pieces I put in quotes, that Strawberry Milk has done, and honestly, I can't show you them because there are naked images of children in lewd clothing and children doing things that children should not be doing. And I'm not about to show you them. I'm not about to showcase some of the work and get my damn self in trouble. But they have comics showing full-blown incest, comics showing bestiality, comics showing children acting out fetish plays that children shouldn't know about, much less be taken part in. In preparation for this video, I went and I screenshotted a lot of their work in case it was deleted, in case something else happened and this person was taken offline. And now I feel like I'm probably on some FBI list. I literally was just scrolling through their Twitter and thought that I would need to use these images to show you guys what they were doing. But in reality, it's disturbing. I can't show you some of the stuff because it's too much. It shouldn't be shown. It's not something to be profited off of. And this person shouldn't be selling on Gumroad, which, by the way, they are, which also violates Gumroad's terms of service, so I'm down to report it. See here, where I went to the terms of use and found the exact spot where they state this work is violating their terms of use outright. That involved a lot of reading. Why the fuck is Gumroad not doing anything? I feel uncomfortable having access to the things that they have done. And I need to cleanse myself of this and remove my skin. I think we can all, or let me rephrase that. I think we should all agree that absolutely none of what they are doing is okay. Drawing children in sexual situations, being peed on, engaging in fetish acts is not okay by any stretch of the imagination, and their reasoning for doing so is also garbage. Strawberry Milk, or Aggie, has stated that they are drawing this, and in drawing this, that has helped them cope with trauma. But I call bullshit on that. Because the people who are taking part in this art, who are buying your work off of Gumroad and supporting it and supporting you, are not the people who survived this and want to relive that trauma. They are the people who think this is hot, that treating children in this way is okay, and it's not. And I absolutely wholeheartedly refuse to pretend like that's what's happening here. You overcoming past trauma and abuse does not make it okay for you to perpetuate that trauma onto other people and also break the law via art. You having been abused doesn't give you carte blanche to make art for your abusers to profit off of. That's not okay. It's gross. It's nasty. It's a big fat no from me, and hopefully from every other human being. Also, being trans doesn't exempt you from criticism, or, being a predator. It only makes you trans. That was a statement they said, that you can never call a predator who is trans a predator because that's not okay. But you don't get, you're allowed to draw and profit off child porn paths because you're trans. That's not what happened. That shit's an immediate no. Stop saying that. Stop defending that. Stop using that to pretend that makes what you're doing less gross. Because guess what? It doesn't. Strawberry Milk on Twitter and Instagram is a fine example why I feel like my platform is important. She is out here pretending to be a child, saying that she's a little girl in her bio, making nudes of children, selling that to people who like that kind of content, and doing so much more. She is out here directly stating that she is okay with people finding her work, children finding her work, and saying that she actually wants that because it has a lot of merit as porn, while saying that you can't hold her accountable for her own actions. It's gross. You don't get to do that. And her having over 1,000 followers really bothers me to no end. My goal here today is to bring this to more people's attention so you guys can be aware of the situation, while also bringing it to Gumroad's attention, which is why I have publicly tweeted them asking them to take down their work, seeing as it violates literal fucking laws. And hopefully this video is enough. If you could boost that tweet, please do. I think this is important. Anyway, I need to go take a piping hot shower and get this grossness off of me. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Let me know how you feel about this person saying that because they're trans, they can't be held accountable for their actions. And with that, I am going to go and die. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Later!